Hi, it's Nadia here. Today I'm going to show you how to make these super stylish bracelets and finish them very professionally. Before I start, please remember to subscribe to our channel and leave us comments. We love to hear from you. We've got new projects every week, so be sure to have a look. Let's have a look at the materials I'll be using to make the bracelet. I've got a selection of beads here that I've put onto a plate, and I've made a little assortment, which is what I think I'll be using, which is a combination of pearls and some accent beads as well. But as I string them along, I'll see if I want to change them or keep them as is. I've got a clasp, some jump rings. I've got a little charm, which I would like to put in the end, just next to my clasp. Little crimps, mine are 2.5mm crimps. Little crimp covers, which are 3mm. And I've got nylon filament here, which is 45mm. The tools I'll be using today are flat nose pliers, which I'll use to open and close my jump rings and also to close my crimp covers. I'll be using a pair of crimping pliers, and then you need some scissors just to cut your cord, and a tape measure or a ruler so that you can cut it correctly. The first thing I'm going to do is cut my cord. An average bracelet should be about 16 centimeters for the bracelet, plus your little clasp and an extender if you have it. You can always measure around your wrist if you're making it for yourself to make sure that it's right, but for me 16 centimeters is good. And I'm going to leave quite a lot extra just to fold over the cord, so it's easier to start off with a longer length. So I'll cut about 26 centimeters. So the first thing I'm going to do is take one of my crimps and I'm going to put it onto my cord. And I'm going to take one of my jump rings. Just make sure that it's well closed, and I'm going to put it onto the cord as well. And now I'm going to make a little loop so that I can bring the cord back through the crimp. The nylon cord is going through the crimp. I've left a little loop just to leave some movement for the jump ring so that it doesn't break when you're wearing it. And before I flatten my crimp, it's important to make sure that the cord that's gone through it is not one on top of the other, but one next to the other, so that it's flat when you crimp it. And I'm going to crimp it using my crimping pliers. Crimping pliers have two holes in them. One which is a neat little oval, and the other one has a little protrusion in it, and it creates a little V in the crimp when you use it. So when you use your crimps, you start off with a little V-shaped one, and then you move your crimp pliers onto the little one at the front. So I'm just going to show you how I do it. Take my crimping pliers and put my crimp inside the second hole, the one with the little sort of V shape in it, and give it a squeeze. So now my crimp is flattened and it's caught my wire. And then I'm going to take the crimping pliers again, and I'm going to put my crimp inside the first one, the first little hole, and I'm going to give it a little squeeze. And you might have to do it a couple of times. To get a nice round shape. Now you can put your little crimp cover on it. My crimp cover is now over my crimp, so I'm able to use my flat nose pliers to close it. So I'm gently squeezing it because I don't want to lose the shape, a nice round shape. And it's a very neat way of finishing off your crimp. It just looks pretty and it protects it. And also there's no sharp edges from the crimp. So now you're ready to start putting your beads on. And what I'm going to do with my first couple of beads is just the little tail that I had left over, feed them through the bead again. It's just extra security to make sure that it doesn't open when you're wearing it. Okay, I think I'm good. So I'm going to have to repeat what I did on the other side by putting a crimp onto the end of my little nylon cord. And a jump ring. And then I'm going to have to put my cord back through my crimp, and I'm going to pull it along. I'm going to try and bring my little crimp as close as I can to the last bead before I crimp it and reduce my little loop so that I don't have too much slack at the top of the bead. So you just need to take a bit of time here because it's small and delicate, and just work your way down. So I'm left with a little loop again and my crimp. My wire has gone through it twice, and I'm just making sure that the wire is lying one next to the other before I crimp it, so it's flat. And I'm going to take my crimping pliers, as I did before, and the first thing I'm going to do is crimp it with the second hole of my pliers. So I'm putting my crimp in the second part of my crimping plier, the one with the little indentation, to make sure it gets a little V shape and curves up, and I'm going to squeeze it. It's very soft, so it's very easy to squeeze. And I've flattened my crimp, and now I'm going to put my crimp in the first hole of my crimping pliers, and I'm going to give it a squeeze. And you might have to repeat this a couple of times, just at a couple of little sort of angles, just to make sure that you've got it all nice and curved. So my crimp is now flat and secure and curved. I'm just going to try and feed my little excess tail through the first couple of beads if I can, just for extra security, before I put my crimp cover on my crimp. So pull it through, and I might just put it through one more if I can. Again, it just makes me feel like this way it's very, very unlikely to open when you're wearing it. And now I'm just going to cut off the excess nylon cord. Just careful, close, but don't cut your main cord. So I can now put my crimp cover, the second crimp cover, on this crimp. So I'm going to take my crimp cover and I'm going to put it around my crimp. So it's cased in. And once my crimp is inside the cover, I can give it a little squeeze to close it, and I'm just going to give it another little squeeze from the other side, just to make sure that it's completely closed and hiding my crimp, again, just for a very perfect finish. What I've got left is adding my clasp onto my bracelet, and as I said, I wanted to put a little charm at the end as well. I'm going to just put my charm on a little jump ring. So when I open my jump ring to put the clasp on it, I can slip this one on at the same time. So I'm going to open my little jump ring. Put my little charm on it, and I'm going to close it. And now I'm going to open the jump ring here. I'm just going to find a little opening. So forwards and backwards with your jump ring, and I'm going to put my clasp on it and my charm that I prepared just now with a little jump ring, and I'm going to close it again, forwards or backwards, just making sure that it's neatly closed. And that's it. The bracelet is ready, with a beautiful professional finish. And you can use this technique for making a necklace, making a whole lot of stacking bracelets in a variety of patterns, and using up some of your bead soup or leftover beads. Enjoy making it. Leave us comments. We love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you for our next project.